Hi, this is my review for War Stories. War Stories is a collection of one-shot scenarios for EPOCH, the horror role-playing game. In this collection, the scenarios are mostly based around the theme of war and the sad and violent consequences related to war. Well, let me talk about the quality of the PDF first. It's a good PDF. It has some pretty good illustrations. Not many, just the ones needed to show a bit more about each scenario. And the structure is pretty good. The player understands how to run these scenarios properly, and it includes printer-friendly cards because, as you well know, the Epoch RPG is driven by playing cards, not rolling dice or some other mechanic. There's one small negative thing I want to mention. The PDF doesn't have a virtual table of contents or hyperlinks, so it's slightly cumbersome to navigate and scroll through the different pages. But that's just a minor thing. But it's better if you pamper your client like that, adding those kinds of things. Well, let me talk about the first scenario, From Above and Below. In From Above and Below, the characters face something that looks supernatural, but it's frighteningly real and maybe all too common in some places. It happens in 1918. The characters are soldiers fighting against the Germans, and they are moving through a war-torn terrain. And little do they know that this place is, you could say, infested or inhabited by cannibals. It's an evil family that began living under the city, under the ruins of the city, and they resorted to cannibalism to survive. And they have become a lot less than human. They are more like beasts and monsters. First, the characters get introduced to the adventure and move into the trenches, avoiding German opposition, and suddenly they get trapped or are forced to navigate the underground tunnels, and they become stalked by this cannibalistic family that has become very numerous in the past years, and the characters have to fight for their lives. Well, let me give you my thoughts about this scenario. I think it's a pretty cool scenario because the characters are facing something they don't know exactly what it is. It seems really like a supernatural threat, but it's more frighteningly more human than they believe. So it's kind of like the Chuds, like those urban cannibals, and they feel this dread of being overwhelmed and stuck in the darkness of the tunnels by these nasty cannibals. It's a pretty good scenario in my opinion, and one that easily the game master can easily drive home in terms of fear and suspense. Now let's check the other scenario, which is called The Coldest Winter. Here it is. In The Coldest Winter, this scenario is a bit more, you could say, realistic, but it's a different kind of terror. This happens in 1939, and the characters have invaded Finland. They are Russian soldiers, and the Finns are trying to fight back, but they have suffered many losses and have experienced many horrifying carnages, but because of the war, the horrors of war. Their loved ones have been brutally butchered, and a lot of people has been killed, and the Finns, the resistance, simply just lose their minds and become the stereotypical psychopath. They become a group of psychopaths that chase down the characters through the woods in a cold night. So what I think about this scenario is that you can work some pretty good scares in it, but because the nature of the threat or the horror is very real or more pragmatic, it's not as scary, at least to me, as if it were something a bit more over the edge or paranormal. because in the other scenario that I just talked about, those cannibals kind of feel really like ghouls or flesh-eating zombies, but they are not. And in this case, you feel like they are just typical. The opposition are just psychopaths, and that's a bit cliche in my opinion. I know it's a very particular vision of or opinion of mine, but it doesn't feel as scary as the other scenarios. And then we have a Homefront, another scenario related to the horrors of war, but in Homefront, this scenario caters more to the conspiracy theorist playing style. The thing is that in 1941, the Germans took control or captured an alien. An alien crash landed on Earth, and the Germans took him prisoner in the hopes of using it as a sort of a weapon, a secret ace in the Great War. The alien reminds me a bit of another epoch scenario called sorry, let me get that title for you. I have it right here, sorry. Here we go. Shadows of Yesterday. On the Shadows of Yesterday, the enemy is also an alien life form, and it reminds me of it because in this scenario, Homefront, it's also an alien life form that doesn't have a sort of physical body. It's more like a gaseous or ethereal presence. And well, the Germans take control of this alien life form and imprison it in a sort of a suit. This reminds me of that movie in Hellboy 2, where that character that is like a doctor, but it's actually like a gaseous being inhabiting a sort of metallic suit. It's almost the same thing. Well, the Germans lose control over this alien, and the alien is desperate to try to get back home and organize an invasion or to attack Earth, because the alien thinks of all the humans as savages that are trying to harm him and control him, and this because he fell into Nazi hands. And well, the alien is scared, but we all know that when somebody gets scared, he also commits many horrifying acts, and that's the source of horror of Homefront. The characters need to confront this alien, but it's not that the alien is evil. The alien is just trying to find his way back home. I think this is a good scenario because the alien has special powers to possess people around him, so the characters can get in some pretty nasty situations in which they don't exactly know what's going on, why are they attacking us, and it's because this alien life form is controlling people, trying to fight the characters and make his way to escape from this planet. It's a good scenario with some interesting role-playing possibilities. And the next scenario is called Mass Destruction. Mass Destruction handles something a lot more different than the other scenarios. You see, in Mass Destruction occurs at a fairly recent time in 2003, and this has to do with a demonic force. So in this scenario, Saddam Hussein captures an ancient demon, a ghoul, not to be confused with the ghouls of Dungeons and Dragons or Lovecraft, those like zombie-like undead creatures that devour the flesh of the living and the dead. In this demon ghoul, it's a very ancient demon in the veins. He kind of feels like that movie, The Wishmaster, like a sort of jinn, and this demon Saddam Hussein tried to control this demon, but as expected, things got out of hand, and the demon was released upon the city. The characters are journalists that are trying to figure things out, and the demon will start chasing them around the scenario, or more like impregnating the scenario with a supernatural presence, attacking the characters, or causing havoc in general through the demon's magical powers. And this scenario reminds me a bit of that movie, The Mummy, with Brendan Fraser. because it has a lot of I don't know, biblical or ancient inspired powers and catastrophes. And it's also an interesting scenario because it doesn't just offer action and horror. It offers the characters the choice to play it as people who are just scared and don't know what to do, or they could also play it as action heroes. But the horror is still there because it's an ancient demon, and the characters don't really know how to deal with it. And the last scenario, Behind the Mask of Evil, presents another type of horror. In the Mask of Evil, the characters face a fanatical group of Christians. They are called. It happens in 2010. The characters are members of the United States. No, sorry, the United Nations organization, and they are fighting this fanatic group called the. Let me find the name for you. Sorry about that. Knights of the Lord, and the Knights of the Lord are commanded by a man who put on an ancient mask, believing it to be a source of power. But this mask houses the damned spirit of an evil man, and is now taking control of the Knights of the Lord to cause even more destruction and kill people and capture, take prisoners. And the characters in this adventure do eventually get captured, and they experience the horror of the wielder of the mask, how he conducts these horrifying rituals trying to resurrect his fallen comrades. This scenario presents the opportunity to play a horror setting where a voodoo type magic or demonic ceremonies are carried out, and the characters are assaulted by different spirits of the dead and other sorts of things. But the source of terror is the man behind the mask. And this is interesting because the man behind the mask also represents a sort of potential threat, like a portal that will summon more horrors into this world. Well, let me give you my opinion about the entire PDF. The scenarios are great. They present good horror opportunities. There are a lot of moments for good tension and good role playing. But I still think that the second scenario, the one about the fiends that turn berserk or a bit crazy, is a lot less scary than the others. I know that these scenarios were written by different people, and that's good because you can see the variety of the different styles. But I still think that the second scenario is not as scary as the others. But besides that, this is a good collection and worthy. If you have the EPOCH role-playing game, you should definitely buy it. It could also serve as inspiration for other adventures in other types of modern RPGs. I recommend it, and there really isn't like a strong negative point. Even that second scenario is a pretty good scenario. Just I think it doesn't measure in the same level of horror as the others. Well, thanks for watching my review. If you have any comments, please type them down. I will read them. See you later.